Hey everybody, this is Praxis. One of the problems with this normal house that I moved into is that there is a wood stove that was installed in the basement, but it was installed more as an afterthought. I don't know what the person's thinking process was when they put it in, but the house was not designed around the wood stove being able to heat it, and it doesn't do an effective job. When I spoke to the previous owner, as we were doing the sale, they said that what they did is they would run the wood stove. They didn't have an outside air adapter, so they just said open a window in the basement that lets in air for the wood stove and dumps cold air all over the floor. And they would just open up the basement door, and they said that the hot air would come up from the basement. Now, I'm sure they weren't being completely disingenuous with me. I'm sure that that was their technique, but I tried it myself, and it just doesn't work very well. The basement door is significantly away from the wood stove, so there's not really a direct route for the heat to get up into the house. And also, as the heat is going up the basement stairs, the cold is also competing because the cold wants to get down. It has to, you can't create a vacuum in the basement. You have to replace the air that's coming up. So the cold is pushing down, the hot is pushing up, and it just was not at all heating the upstairs. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting in some registers in the floor. These are floor registers. These are 4 by 12 inches. I got 2 of them, and I'm installing them right in the floor here, directly over where the wood stove is. The wood stove is right beneath me, and I'm going to be putting these in here. My hope, my anticipation, my hypothesis is that these are going to work a lot better. Now, you might say, well, if a basement door wasn't effective at bringing up all the hot air, how are these tiny little registers going to do any better? Basement door is huge. These are very small. Well, what I'm planning on is capitalizing on the idea of pressure and convection. Hot air, as you know, likes to go up. That's why hot air balloons rise. Hot air is lighter, it's less dense than cold air, so cold air wants to go down, hot air wants to come up. Now, in the basement stairs, they were all hitting into each other, and it was also not in a place where the hot air was particularly hot anymore because it was really far away, and that was not working. But my sense is, having these registers directly over the wood stove, the hot air goes straight up through these. It'll create a lot of pressure, and that will push the hot air up into the main part of the house. In the meantime, because it'll create kind of a suction, by the hot air going up, that will be drawing the cold air from another part of the house, because the stairs are kind of far away. It'll be drawing the cold air down to replace it, and it'll create a nice convection loop. I'm placing one right here, another one just down the wall over here, and I'm using these, like I said, 4 by 12 inch registers, and the tools that I'm going to be using to make this happen are a tape measure for positioning. There are beams underneath the floor, and I didn't want the register going directly down on top of a beam. I wanted it between the floor support beams, so I used the tape measure to kind of figure out exactly where things should lay out. Once I got them laid out, I used this beautiful red crayon for marking up the floor, which was kind of neat. I never got to do it as a kid. You're not allowed to go drawing on the floors. But, I got a nice clean mark of where this thing is going to go in. Next step is going to be using a knife to cut away the carpet and the pad under the carpet. And once I have that all cut out of there, I'm going to drill 4 holes in the corners. Once I have the 4 holes drilled in the corners, that will allow me to use this jigsaw to sort of connect the dots and cut out the piece of wood in the bottom. And that's really it. These floor registers are made to just sort of set into the floor. If you're going to attach them to like a hardwood floor, I guess you could put some glue or caulking or something like that to secure them down. I'm not going to do that over the carpet, but really gravity is just going to hold these things in. So once I have that accomplished, I'll be able to light a fire and see how they work. So let's fast forward to after this project is done, and we'll see how well this actually worked out. Okay, and here we are at the other side of winter. I'm recording this in the spring, and overall, I think the system that I set up here worked pretty well. The holes are just up between all these floor beams, and I feel like it was a good thing to have done. I took some tissue paper over the gaps whenever I was running the wood stove. Well, not whenever, the first few times. And you could see it kind of was blowing the tissue paper up, so you could feel it was going there. If you put your feet over in that area, it felt very warm. So it was nice. It worked. It was not as forceful as I was thinking it was going to be. And it's good to check that kind of stuff. It's not good to just come up with an idea and do it and then never reanalyze as to whether or not it was a good idea or a bad idea. Obviously for this, the holes are there, and I'm not going to be plugging them up or anything just because it wasn't quite as forceful, because it was a benefit. it. But yeah, I was anticipating maybe it was going to be a little bit more force of the air. But overall, still, it helped to heat up that area of the house. It helped with the convection current and everything. So I think it was a positive thing to do. If you do anything like this ever in your house, remember that there are structural elements of your house that you don't want to mess with. For example, like I didn't want to be cutting through these floor beams or anything like that. So make sure if you're ever doing pass-throughs that you're not cutting through anywhere that has a structural significance to your house, and also you're not cutting through anywhere that may have wires or anything going through where as you're cutting through you may cut through a wire. So always double check those things before you do any installs. But also don't be afraid to change and customize your house to work better for you. It's your house and you should make it work the way that is going to be best for you and your family. That's it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for new videos all the time, and if you'd like to support this channel, you can do so either through Patreon or PayPal.